Hello and welcome to another edition of Motor Cars Enthusiasts. Right off the bat on the old show today, another episode of Motor Cars means another lawsuit for the poor folks over at Volkswagen. This time it's the Federal Trades Commission that's actually suing VW over false advertising. We're talking any sort of advert, whether it be in print media, on the television, in radio, or on the interwebs, where they have gloated about any of their diesel technology as far as fuel economy, CO2 emissions, all that stuff is false advertising now that they've been caught in this scandal. And they are seeking damages, which does mean that VW is going to have to shell out some more money. It's going to cost them a lot of money for a long, long time. This story is long from over, especially for the sheer fact, remember we talked about that whole deal with them finding a fix. Well, that deadline has passed, but they have filed and granted a new extension on this deal to the mid to late part of April as far as getting that fix done. So hopefully they can get that deal done and turn the page on this whole cheating fiasco. Next up on the list, well, by the time you actually witness this particular video, the new Model 3, all the details will be plastered all over the interwebs, television, and the like. So we'll know a whole lot more come the next edition of Motor Cars. But for now, some of the things we do know for almost certain, one of them being the price tag of this machine, because Tesla tried to undercut the brand new Chevrolet Bolt, which Mary Barra talked about this vehicle being costing around 30 grand after the whole tax incentives. Well, Tesla's talking about their car is going to cost $35,000 before tax incentives. Now, these tax incentives are about $7,500 per vehicle. Now, Tesla is rapidly approaching the cap on this because it's only for the first 200,000 units of sales, and they're rapidly approaching that particular deal. So, if you want to get in on this tax incentive, you better get on the ground floor of this new Model 3. Another thing that we know about it, we know it's going to be all-wheel drive. It's going to be able to do 0 to 60 in somewhere around 4 seconds. And it's going to have a top range of 200 miles. So we'll know a whole lot more come the next video, so check back then. Next up on the list, fantastic news. Glory, hallelujah. The Nurburgring's back open for business. It's back open for top speed after that tragic accident where a spectator was killed a year or so ago. The Nurburgring's gone through substantial renovations, including a lot of spots where the cars actually get a little bit light at speed, not to mention a lot of the spectator areas being moved back, using a lot more catch fencing and the like, and the FIA has cleared this track for full speed runs again. Now, I know the Nürburgring actually came out and said that actually a lot of those speed limits were not actually attainable by normal automobiles. It took a very well-prepared car with a person who's extremely competent at the Nürburgring to achieve those kind of speeds, but I just like it a whole lot better when there are no speed limits. Cannot wait to hear what that 1-to-1 from the Koenigsegg folks. They were well on their way to heading over there to try it out when this whole deal went down. So hopefully they're planning their trip accordingly. And we'll have a whole lot more about the old Nordschleife loop coming soon. Next up on the list, well, car sales for 2016 have been moving quite well. In fact, ahead of last year's sales. In fact, the seasonal annual adjusted rate, or the SAR, has actually been up closer to 17.5 million units, up from just over 17 million this time last year. So sales are going well, and a lot of these sales are looking to be a bubble to be burst coming soon, mainly because a lot of these cars are basically being replaced after the whole economic downturn, so sales may be tailing off for a little bit soon. That being said, people are really looking at their crystal ball about what's coming in the future. The fact that autonomous cars are well on their way, the fact that these cars may not crash as much as some cars, which means replacing them may be less and less, the fact that a lot of folks are not buying automobiles anymore, using a lot more public transportation, especially in heavily populated urban areas. The whole fact of Uber making it a lot easier to get from here to there. Not to mention the whole car sharing thing, where you don't actually have to own an automobile, but rent an automobile for a fair amount of time. All this may spell bad news for the car industry, for a lot of folks are not going to be buying cars in the future. But wait, this may be a really good deal for the car industry. You may be thinking right off the bat, holy smokes, you've gone mad. Well, hear me out, because here's the deal. Especially when it comes to owning your own automobile, think of how much travel that car actually does during a day. Let's say you wake up in the morning, you jump in it, and you head to work. Most days you might just jump right back into it and head right back home after 8 hours of the car possibly sitting in a parking lot at your employer. Well, if you take a ride-sharing car, that car chances are has been running non-stop all day long. And the more miles that are driven, the quicker the car will run out, or at least wear out, I guess I should say, which means it's going to have to be replaced a lot quicker. This could mean that car sales could become a lot more flatlined in staying the same, because cars are going to be bought at a much more, a lot closer together, and not have these ebbs and flows in the industry. Because you think about it, during the winter months, a lot of cars don't get sold, not to mention around the holidays, around the time when kids go back to school, you get a big spike up when everybody gets their tax return back. This could become a lot more flatlined heading into the future if these cars are just being used up and have to be replaced a lot quicker than previously were. So this may be a real boom for the car industry, and maybe why you see a lot of manufacturers jumping on this car sharing bandwagon. It'll be very exciting to see this next chapter in the automobile industry. Last up on the list, well, if you're a big fan of Top Gear, especially the US Top Gear, great news. April 26th of 2016, 9 p.m. Eastern on the History Channel. Yes, Adam Ferrara, Tanner Faust, and Rutledge Wood will be back with a new season of the US-based Top Gear on the History Channel. I've yet to hear when the UK version is coming out. All we're hearing is late May. They have yet to announce that. Not to mention when it's going to be coming out on BBC and BBC America here stateside. That will remain to be seen as well, but at least we know what the US Top Gear is going to be up and running, so cannot wait. I really love this show. Brother and I text back and forth quite heavily through this. It's a pretty entertaining program. If you haven't seen it, check it out. History Channel, 9 p.m. Eastern, April 26th. And that's all there was that I thought was worth talking about for this edition of Motor Cars Enthusiasts. If you want to jump on over to the Facebook page, don't forget to like us over there. We'd appreciate that. Also, if you'd like to subscribe to the channel, you can do so at any time and get the first dibs on the brand new shows as soon as they come out. Thanks for watching. See you again real soon.